Now, while we've discussed a lot of the JRPGs and RPGs that could be coming to the Nintendo Switch or already announced for some platforms on this channel, I want to go over all of the rumored RPGs from a first-party development standpoint that Nintendo could announce in 2022. Now, this doesn't mean that these games will be coming out in 2022, but we could hear about them more. There could be more rumors than what we already got, or Nintendo could just flat out announce them at a Nintendo Direct, and maybe they do even drop this year, with some of these games heavily rumored to do so. But the reason why I wanted to do this is because a lot of you guys on my live streams and even in videos ask me about various different games. So I decided to put together all of the rumors that I've heard about, maybe some sources that I do have, and just discuss a lot of the RPGs that a lot of you guys are looking forward to. Sequels, different games, all sorts of stuff. But before we get into anything, please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, and click that notification bell to get my videos first. And make sure you drop a comment below letting me know what your favorite game was or what you want to see most from the RPGs on the Nintendo Switch from a first-party development standpoint. Comment section below. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. But let's go ahead and start off here first with Golden Sun. And this is a much requested thing that you guys have been asking me to talk about, and I'm super glad to talk about it. So now what we've heard about Golden Sun on the Nintendo Switch. I've made multiple videos on it, and there was some videos from sources that wouldn't necessarily be 100% out there. There hasn't been any sources that have let me know about Golden Sun from like something that I trust more than anything. It's really just been sources that have just out there on the internet that have gotten some things right, some things wrong. Now, the source that originally claimed that Golden Sun was going to be coming out from Camelot did get Mario Golf right well before Mario Golf came out. So since they got that right, that same source said that, hey, Golden Sun is coming in that same post, which was back, I think, in 2020, before we even knew about Mario Golf. So it does seem like Camelot will be working on a brand new Golden Sun, or is already working on a brand new Golden Sun, because they did state that that game is a little bit far out, but that was as of 2020, the very end of 2020. So we'll see what happens going forward with a new Golden Sun game. Now, what could they do? Well, they're done with Mario Golf, guys. They're done with Mario Golf. They're done with the DLC. That game is finished. So I think that there's two options that a new Golden Sun game goes in, because I don't think Nintendo would give them the type of budget or the type of marketing or anything like one of their bigger RPGs. I don't think it'd get what Fire Emblem got. I don't think it'd get what Xenoblade got. So I'm guessing that it would go the route of a Advance Wars 1+2, the reboot camp, which that game is being retooled. I'm guessing they'll take some of the games and they will remake those games and put them out there on the Nintendo Switch and have a Golden Sun collection where they fix some of the issues, improve the graphics, audio quality, all of that, and then put it out there. That would be my guess for a new Golden Sun game, because I just don't see Nintendo spending large amounts of money making Golden Sun into the next Witcher or something like that, or even into the next Xenoblade. So I don't see them doing that, but I can see them taking those old games and kind of remaking them and putting them out there, just like they're doing with Advance Wars with Way Forward. Maybe Golden Sun does get that ticket, and I'm guessing that Golden Sun and with Camelot, they're probably chomping at the bit to go back to this franchise. It's been a long time. The last Golden Sun game was on the Nintendo DS, but we know how Nintendo feels about Golden Sun. They're not high on it. Heck, we didn't even get a Golden Sun character as a playable character in Super Smash Bros., and he's been there available for a number of years now at this point. He's been there available in multiple different games from Brawl and on, and we have not gotten him. And there's been 3 games and we haven't gotten anything from Golden Sun outside of the assist trophy in there. So I do feel that, yeah, that sucks. At the same time, that's what makes me think that it's probably not going to be something new or super big budget, but something more on the lower end side, but still something that fans can get excited about. Because if they said, hey, you get the GBA game, you get the DS game all remade in one package, yeah, that's something to get very excited about as a Golden Sun fan, just to know that the series has some type of life, a pulse, which, look, it's not impossible. Look at what Advance Wars has done. We haven't got Advance Wars in a very long time. Same thing with Golden Sun. It's been a very long time, and bam, out of nowhere, E3 2021, Advance Wars comes crawling out from the abyss. So I do feel that Golden Sun could follow the suit this year on the Nintendo Switch. Now, next up is a little bit more of a wild card, and that is the next Pokemon generation, Generation 9. Now, why am I talking about this? Some of you guys might be thinking, well, wait a minute, like, is there any rumors about that? What's going on there? And no, there really isn't at this point, but I'm going based off of mathematical things right here. I'm going based off of the games. So if you look at it, the original Generation 8 with Pokemon Sword and Shield, that came out back in 2019. So now it's been a number of years. That was 2019. So I do think that they are working on that next game. And if you look at Pokemon Legends Arceus, that had to have overlapped development with Pokemon Sword and Shield. There is no way, unless they were able to be miracle workers and get that game done in about 2 years or so, right? A little bit over 2 years, which probably not, probably not. It's probably a little bit longer than that. So I'm guessing because they got Pokemon Legends Arceus, a game that's coming out very soon here as of the time that I'm recording this video, January, at the very end of January, the fact that they were able to get that game done and early in the year, that means that gives them extra development time, that gives them extra just space to be able to have the next Pokemon game or working on the next Pokemon Generation 9. And that would be the big step up above what we saw with Pokemon Sword and Shield. Now, Pokemon Legends Arceus is not that next generation of Pokemon. We have to realize that. It is a side game or something different outside of the main series. Why? There's no multiplayer in that game. So there's no way that you can have a mainline series, what most people are going to play or go with, that doesn't have multiplayer, because multiplayer is such a huge staple of all of the main Pokemon games. So that's the reason why I think that, one, it took them less to do it when it comes to Pokemon Legends Arceus. Two, obviously the graphics, it's not like they've been working on that for 5 or 6 years or anything like that. But also, three, it's coming out at the beginning of the year. So there has to be something else. Maybe the next generation of Pokemon doesn't come out at the end of the year, but maybe it's announced this year and maybe it comes out next year, or maybe we hear the first rumors about the next generation of Pokemon, because there's no way that they're not working on it, because they're always working on the next generation of Pokemon. They're always working on what's next for the franchise. So I do see the next generation of Pokemon getting some type of rumors or getting some type of leaks or something like that in 2022 for the Nintendo Switch. Now, next up is a brand new Fire Emblem game, but this is going in multiple different paths here, and this is actually one of the most solid games that we could expect in 2022 from Nintendo, from the JRPG front, because I have my own sources that have stated that yes, there is a Fire Emblem game coming. Plus, we also have Nate from Direct Feed Games, Nate the Hate. He's also stated that 100% Fire Emblem is coming and it will surprise people. Plus, there's also been other sources on the internet that have stated that Fire Emblem is coming as well. Now, we do have one source that has stated that it's going to be a Fire Emblem Echoes title. Now, I don't have that and I haven't seen that anywhere else, but one source does say that there is going to be a Fire Emblem Echoes title. For those who don't know what that is the games where they go back into the past of Fire Emblem games, usually games never released here in the US, and they remake those games completely with modern graphics, or for whatever the system's on at least, and they also update it to where it can be easier. They add some new elements to it. They add a bunch of cool stuff. The last one that we got back in 2017 was Fire Emblem Echoes Shadows of Valentia, which was a remake of Fire Emblem Gaiden back there with Alm and Celica and that generation of Fire Emblem. So that game we never got here in the West, and there are plenty of other games that they can go to, because a number of the big Fire Emblem games from the Super Nintendo era have not came over, and a number of other ones as well. So I think if they went back and did Genealogy of the Holy War, that is the next game up from what they haven't remade yet. They've already done the original Marth games and everything like that. They have done Fire Emblem Echoes Shadows of Valentia, which was Gaiden. The next game after that, the third one, this would be the fourth one with Fire Emblem Genealogy of the Holy War. So I think that could be the game that we do get, but the rumors could be wrong. It could actually be something else. It could be the next new Fire Emblem game. Heck, maybe it's a Fire Emblem Warriors game. We just don't know at this point what they're going to do. But if you base it on the history of how Fire Emblem games release, we're due for another Fire Emblem game. It's usually about every 3 years or so we get that next big console or that next big Fire Emblem game. They skipped the Wii U with what they were doing there because it was just cheaper and more cost effective to do it on the Nintendo 3DS. So we got Fire Emblem Awakening, that was 2013, and we got Fire Emblem Emblem Fates, that was 2016. Then in between, we did get that Shadows of Valentia, but then back to 2019, we got Fire Emblem Three Houses, which was delayed, so they did want to get that out earlier, but it was delayed to make sure that the quality was there. So every 3 years, it's been that. Now, what do we got right now? It's 2022. That would be 3 years when it comes to Fire Emblem. So I do feel that something is coming when it comes to an announcement of a Fire Emblem game, and there is a lot of credible sources to back this one up, in addition to my own sources as well, that says that Fire Emblem is going to be coming. So to me, this is probably the most surefire out of all of these. Maybe that's why I'm spending a bit more time on it, is because I think that this one is more surefire than the other games. I know that Intelligent Systems is done with Paper Mario. They've been done with that game for, you know, going on 2 years now. If you're looking at what they did before, what else do they have? I mean, it seems like they haven't really been working on much, or we haven't heard of much from them. I know that they worked on the WarioWare game, but that's more a smaller game. You don't need the whole cavalry for that or anything. So I think that they've been working hard on a brand new Fire Emblem game. They could have somebody else come in and help them out as well, just like they had Koei Tecmo help them out a lot with Fire Emblem Three Houses, and this could be the next big Fire Emblem game when it comes to a brand new game. Maybe they go in the new route like Fire Emblem Three Houses. I don't think it's going to be a sequel to that game. I think it's going to be something either brand new with the new characters and new theme, new gimmicks and stuff like that, with the same Fire Emblem gameplay and additions and updates like they always do, or they're going to go back to Genealogy of the Holy War, go back to one of the older games. People have talked about maybe Path of Radiance and all that, but if they go to Path of Radiance, they're skipping so many games. You're skipping the GBA one, you're skipping Roy's Arc, you're skipping just too many games. So I don't see them jumping all the way to Path of Radiance, and then you also have to get in Radiant Dawn in there as well, and that could happen one of these days. I would just be shocked if it's not at this point, because they haven't been skipping previous games. If they wanted to go back and kind of skip stuff, then they would have skipped Gaiden, because nobody remembers that when it comes down to it. Even though Alm and Celica, they're cool and everything, but people don't really remember that. They could have just skipped all the way to the Binding Blade or the Blazing Blade and said, okay, here you go, and that's on the 3DS, and people would have been hyped and excited for that. So it doesn't seem like they want to skip with these remakes. So that's why I'm guessing that if we do get something, or we do get something announced, which I think that we will, that it's going to be a Fire Emblem Echoes type of title. But once again, we're going to have to wait on that one. But it's exciting nonetheless to talk about these RPGs, and especially to talk about Fire Emblem, because like I said, I think that this is the sure bet out of all of these games. And last, but definitely not least here, and I want to spend a bit more on this, and that is a new Xenoblade game. Now, Xenoblade Chronicles, there is just so much stuff floating out there in terms of what people want and maybe what we will get. Obviously, we can't have a Xenoblade video or discuss Xenoblade without discussing Xenoblade Chronicles X. That is one of the last bastions of the Wii U, the last hopes of the system. That game is stuck on that system from an official release capacity. It's stuck on there, and people want it on the Nintendo Switch, and you can't ignore what people have been asking for. Monolith Soft actually directly responded to that, saying that, hey, it would take a lot of time, it would take a lot of effort, we're not sure if we can do that on the Switch. But that was before we got the 2 million plus sales of Xenoblade Chronicles 2. That was before we got the good sales of Xenoblade Chronicles 2 Torn of the Golden Country. That was before we got the good sales of Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. All of those games selling extremely well, more money flowing into Monolith Soft, and them expanding a lot more than what we've seen before. So it's been a little bit of time, and I'm pretty sure at some point, if they were going to greenlight a Xenoblade Chronicles X, they would have done it at this point, and maybe we hear about it. But I don't think that would be the only thing here. I think that we would get something else, whether that's a brand new Xenoblade Chronicles 3, which has been rumored from sources out there. There are some bigger sources that have said that Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is definitely a thing. It's coming. People have talked about the new IP that Monolith Soft is doing. Maybe that's something that's separate from Xenoblade Chronicles. And the most recent rumor with Xenoblade Chronicles that there's going to be some type of action adventure spin-off type of game, to where it's not exactly the same type of gameplay, because, you know, with Xenoblade Chronicles, it uses a very MMO / action RPG system where you're doing auto attacks and there's kind of stuff like that. But this game would be more of contextual button presses and more of an action game in line with what we've seen before. So it's going to be very interesting to see exactly how Xenoblade Chronicles plays out. Do we get Xenoblade Chronicles X first, then they move on to Xenoblade Chronicles 3? Is there a side game that's called Xenoblade Chronicles something else and not numbered like they've done with the original? Then you also have 2, and then now we have this one that's potentially coming. Or do they go off and do something completely different? I mean, there's just so many different things that's kind of going through my mind with Xenoblade, and I think that Monolith Soft, it's due. Like, all of these games here are due for something, but Xenoblade and Fire Emblem to me are like the 2 biggest sure bets. Fire Emblem being the #1 sure bet that I feel is happening with an announcement this year and maybe even a release this year, and Xenoblade would probably be my second bet because we've gotten so many rumors on these games and so many rumors on Xenoblade Chronicles. This was a big thing last year with multiple websites reporting that they're going to follow in the line of what Xenoblade Chronicles 2 did, maybe even have some of those characters from the original in Xenoblade Chronicles 2, but it's going to be years down the line. I mean, there's been all sorts of stuff, but we just won't know until Nintendo actually talks about it at a Nintendo Direct. Now, let's discuss when all of this stuff could be happening, because there's going to be Directs, guys. There's going to be Directs, and I think that these games are going to be split up amongst them. So I feel that a Pokemon Generation 9 or a Golden Sun, those would probably be announced later in the year, maybe even at different events. When it comes to the Pokemon, that could be at a Pokemon Direct that they announced that one. When it comes to Golden Sun, that would probably be at a Nintendo Direct. I don't think it would be at an early Direct. It'd probably be at an E3 or at a Fall Direct for that one, because I don't think a Golden Sun game would be a sure bet for this year if they announced it, or if they did, it might get delayed like Advance Wars did. Although I'm pretty sure if they announced the game, they'd probably want it to release the game in the same time. Nintendo is very keen with announcing things, then having it come out, especially with these remakes and stuff like that, not too long after they do announce it. But there has been times where they announce stuff in the Fall Direct and then it comes out later, early in the year. So maybe something like that happens. So we'll see about that. Pokemon Generation 9, once again, could be a Pokemon Direct. Fire Emblem, I feel, would be a early announcement. I don't think it would be at E3. I think it would be like a spring type of announcement. They've announced stuff early for Fire Emblem before, so I'm guessing that it would be a spring announcement. We see gameplay and more stuff at E3, then we would release sometime after that, maybe even giving us a window for the next Fire Emblem game when they first announce it. So I'm very confident that would be a Nintendo Direct for spring, which we always get spring Nintendo Direct, so that could be coming sooner than we think. Now with Xenoblade's interesting because they've announced this game all over the place. They've announced sometimes Xenoblade X, that was at the beginning of the year, January, but they were desperate with the Wii U. They've announced other type of Xenoblade games with like Xenoblade Chronicles 2. They announced that one again in January at a big presentation, so they've used it as something to kind of get the core audience in. This is a little bit different now because this would be the 3rd game, or really more like the 4th Xenoblade game on the Nintendo Switch if you're counting all the DLC and the remaster and of course the original Xenoblade Chronicles 2. So this would be the 4th one on there, not counting Xenoblade X. So where they announce it or where they slot it or where they put it in would be up to anybody's guess. But I'm guessing if Xenoblade was coming, I'm guessing it might be an early announcement or it could be an E3 announcement as well. And I have no idea when it would release. I'm hoping that it would be at 2022. But if you look at all the different games that are coming out, Nintendo has such a packed slate of games, but we don't really know the second half games. We know about probably Zelda's second half, probably Bayonetta's second half, but that's it. I mean, there's still a lot of months left over after, you know, June or July and all that to kind of get some games in. So I'm guessing that's where you can get slotted in stuff like Fire Emblem and stuff like Xenoblade. So I would guess that we would get the game announcement maybe at the Spring Direct for Xenoblade Chronicles, whatever it is, or even at E3, and then it's released then and there. They usually give a bit more time before a Xenoblade game releases, but I think those were different circumstances before, and now you can get this to the point to where it's far more ready to be shown off, and then you can say, okay, here it is, there's the next Xenoblade game, here's the next Monolith Soft game. So it's going to be interesting to see exactly how all of these RPGs potentially play out in 2022. But once again, there's been a lot of smoke with all of this stuff, so hopefully we get some news on this. Hopefully there's some Nintendo Direct soon, which I do feel that there will be. I think there will be Nintendo Direct in spring. I think there will be the E3 Direct, and I think there will be the fall, just like we had last year and just like we have most of the time. Obviously with the pandemic, with Corona and everything, that limited what Nintendo did in 2020, but for the most part, they've been spot on having these Directs all throughout the Nintendo Switch era. So I can see that happening once again and getting some new RPG goodness across the board when we ride off into the sunset of the Nintendo Switch's life on the back half here. So what are your thoughts on all of this here, guys? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, that wraps it up here. Thank you guys so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and we will see you for the next video. Peace.